Hello everyone and hello Miss. Welcome to our explanation video for social statistic assignment. We are from group 5 and group 5 is consists of me, Muhammad Zaki Milan Geno, Dava Alif Fadilah, Sarah Naila Taufik, Adnan Ardiansyah, and Keisha. And in social statistics is a lot of hypothesis testing. One sample, two sample, and many more. And in this video, we will discuss one of the most important topics in statistics, which is hypothesis testing for the mean one sample. Some of you may have heard the word hypothesis before, but might be confused about how to test it statistically. So, in this video, we'll explain everything thoroughly, from the basic concept, the testing steps, and to how use SPSS. So, let's get started. First, Sarah will introduce the basic concepts.
Okay, thank you, Zaki. So, what exactly is hypothesis testing for the mean one sample? So, this test is used when we want to determine whether the mean of a sample differs significantly from a specific predetermined value called hypothetical. And for example, we want to know does average exam score of students in this class is differ from the national standard of 70. To answer question like that, we use this test. And there are two types of hypotheses that we always form. There are H0 or null hypothesis. The population mean is equal to the specified value, and there are H1 or alternative hypothesis. The population mean differs from the specified value, and H0 is the initial assumption that we test, while H1 is what we are trying to prove. And there are also two statistical testing approaches that available depending on the nature of our data. And for more detail, Dalif will explain.
Okay, thank you, Asad. Sure. So there are two types of tests used in one sample hypothesis testing. It is the z-test and the t-test. So basically we use the z-test when the sample size is large than 30 and the population standard deviation is known. And then the z-test formula is basically where sample mean minus by hypothesis mean value divided by population standard deviation divided by root sample size. And then we use the t-test when the sample size is smaller than 30 or the population standard deviation is not known. And the t-test formula is where sample mean minus by hypothesis mean value divided by the result of sample standard deviation divided by root sample size. And the result of these formulas is called the t-value or z-value, which is then compared against a critical value from a statistical table. And next, Keisha will walk us through a sample problem.
Thank you, Dalia, for the explanation. Now let's bring this to life with a quick practical example. Imagine a study checking if university students study a different amount than the standard 4 hours a day. We looked at a random sample of 20 students and found this matrix. Our sample average is 4.8 hours with a standard deviation of 1.2 hours. We're testing this at a 5% significance level. And because our sample size is small, less than 30, and we don't know the full population standard benchmark, we used a t-test. So let's solve this in 4 quick steps. Step 1 is to set our hypothesis. Our null hypothesis states that the study time is exactly 4 hours. Our alternative hypothesis says it differs from 4 hours. This means we're running a two-tailed test. Step 2 is to calculate the t-value. So we plug our metrics into the t-test formula, and our calculated t-value comes out to 2.98. Step 3 is to find the critical t-table value. With 90 degrees of freedom and a 5% significance level, our standard benchmark from the t-table is 2.093. The last step is to make the decision. Comparing to the two, our calculated t of 2.98 is larger than the table benchmark of 2.093. Therefore, we reject the null hypothesis. In conclusion, there is a significant difference. Students actually study on average more than 4 hours per day. That wraps up the manual calculation. But how do we do this effortlessly using SPSS? Let's hand it over to RD so that he can explain about the SPSS.
Thank you, Keisha. Now, we will see how to perform this one sample hypothesis test using SPSS, much faster than a manual calculation. We will use the same data from Keisha's sample problem, and here are the steps. Step 1, input the data, and then open your SPSS. Yep. And then enter the study time data into a column. And then let's name the column is study_time. Then make sure the data type is numeric. Step 2, select the menu and click Analyze menu at the top. Then select Compare Means and then click one sample t-test. Step 3, enter the variable. In the dialog box that appears, move the study_time variable to the test variables box, and then in the test value field, enter our hypothetical value for. Step 4, set the significance level. Click the option buttons. Make sure the confidence interval percentage is 95%. Yep. And then click continue and then OK. Okay, let's move to the step 5 to read the output. So SPSS will display two important tables. The first one is one sample with statistic table. This one is contain the mean, standard deviation, and standard error mean. And then the other one is one sample test table. This table contains t-value, degrees of freedom, and sig_2tail. So reading the result is very simple. Look at the sig_2tail value. If sig's below 0.05, then the HO is rejected. This means there is a significant difference. From our sample data, SPSS displays is T is 2.981, degrees of freedom is 19, sig_2tail is 0.008. So since the 0.008 below than 0.05, HO is rejected. So this is consistent with our manual calculation result. Yeah, consistent. Those were steps for using SPSS. Now, Zaki will summarize everything.
Alright, we reached the end of the video. Let's summarize what we have learned today. 1. One sample hypothesis testing is used to compare all sample mean against a specific predetermined value. Number 2. We use the z-test when the sample is large and the population standard deviation is known, and the t-test when the sample is small or the standard deviation is unknown. Number 3. In testing, if the t calculated is greater than the t table or the C value is less than 0.05, then H0 is rejected, meaning there is a significant differences. Number 4. SPSS simplifies this process through the one sample t-test feature found under analyze more than compare means. We hope this video is useful and help you understand one sample hypothesis testing more easily. Thank you for watching. See you next time.